Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, Rick Jenkins, and I appreciate you joining us. Our next guest today is Joe LaPenna. Joe is the CEO and the founder and the owner of Drum Creative. Drum is a full-service marketing agency located right here in Greenville, but doing business a little bit of everywhere. Joe, welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Rick.
It is good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too.
So, you all can do anything at Drum Creative. Now, you specialize in website design.
Yeah.
Right? But you can do anything. Just talk for a second about your services.
Yeah. When it comes to marketing and everything like that, web design is probably what we call the tentpole of our business. Everything needs to point to something. And in this digital marketing age, the website is really where we want to point everybody to. So if you do a commercial, you do pay-per-click advertising, you do direct mail pieces, any kind of email, it's all got to go to your website. And so we think that the website is the most important piece of that, and we focus a lot of our efforts on that part of it, and then we offer all the other services to drive people to it.
I have heard you say before, is your website, let me make sure I get this right, is your website your best salesperson?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Did I say it right?
Top performing salesperson.
Yeah, that's right. Is your website your top performing salesperson? I think it's somewhat logical what that means, but tell me about it.
You know, a lot of people, when they build a website, they really do a lot of talking about themselves. They talk about their mission, vision, positioning statement. They talk about their core values, and nobody cares about that. They want to know if they're searching for a product and or a service that you have to sell, they want to know, are you going to help me? Do you know what problem I'm facing? And so it's got to connect with the customer.
You know, I have seen so many websites that I did not think sometimes you go to a website and you don't know what they're selling.
Right.
Sometimes you go to a website and you can't quite understand what it is these people do, even though you know that when they put it together, they assumed you could tell. It was obvious to them, right? It was obvious to them. It was logical to them, but it might not be obvious to someone else. And I would assume that sometimes you have to talk to clients that don't understand that no one knows what they do.
Yeah, we actually had a website that we did for a client, and they said the name of their company, and then integrity was what they were selling.
Selling integrity.
Yeah, integrity. Okay. That's really great. We all want to sell integrity, but they were road construction.
Road construction.
So they had integrity in their road construction, but and so going back to that salesperson conversation that you and I were having. What do you want in a salesperson? Like, think about that for a second. They have to get out there and network. They've got to get in front of people, right? Well, your website has to do that.
Yeah.
So if we're doing parallels, right? This person's got to go out and drive and get to places to get that exposure and everything. On the other side, it's search engine optimization or pay-per-click advertising. That's getting your website in front of your customers. They're searching for your service or product. So now you've got to get in front of them. What's the other thing that you want in a salesperson? Well, you don't want them showing up in shorts and a tank top or sandals or something like that. You want them to look sharp. You want them to fit the bill. And your website should have a nice, pleasing, professional look and feel to it. But then the most important thing, and I saved it for last, it's about the messaging. Do they understand what your product or service is or how it's going to help your customer? Do they know what problem it solves? And if they can answer that and they get in front of your customer, you can entrust them to sit down with anybody and sell them on what you have to offer and hopefully close the deal. That's what your website should do.
Sometimes I would think figuring that out with a client is easy, and I would think sometimes figuring that out is probably not so easy, and it might be like pulling teeth, right? Because I could envision a client that might not quite understand what it is that they're selling in reality. Right? And I know that you do one thing that helps people understand this a little bit better, and it's called StoryBrand, right?
That's right.
And so let's talk about StoryBrand for a second. But before I say that, and I want you to tell the listeners and the viewers what StoryBrand is exactly, but you are what's called a certified guide for StoryBrand.
Right.
And there aren't many certified guides for StoryBrand. And I only know this because I've known you for a while and I've had this conversation before. I think there's only a couple in this market. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that not everyone can bring to the table, but you bring it to the table. And it is a way to sit down, and I'm going to say it the wrong way, and I'll let you say it the right way afterwards. But it is a way to sit down with a client and walk them through a process that makes them better understand who they are, what they do, what they have to sell, right?
That's right.
It might sound like complete logic, like, well, duh, right? Yes. But it's not always that, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you said it that way, too, because that's exactly what we find. We'll go through this process with the customer, and we'll start asking them questions like, what is their goal? What is their aspirational identity? What do they want, right? And so the framework is really simple. You have the customer, they're the hero of the story. And they have an aspirational identity. They have something that looks like success, whether it's, I'll just use heating and air. They want their air conditioning working again, right?
Yeah.
That's success to them. But the problem is that there are people that are unreliable that they've dealt with, or they feel like they come and they look at it and now they need a new air conditioning unit. Like there's that trust factor. So then what we do is we say, you, the customer, are the guide in this story. And the guide is going to basically create this authority that says, yes, we can do this, and here's how, or here's why our product is the best product on the market. And then we give them a plan, a 3 simple step plan. What does it look like to do business with you? And kind of paint a path in 3 simple steps that ends in success. And then we also give them a call to action. Like, what is the clear call to action? You know, sometimes when you're meeting somebody, like, you don't just go, want to get started? Like we want to make something that's much more engaging. We want to use words that are much more engaging. And then we paint that picture of success and avoids failure. We want to create stakes. What would happen if they don't do business with you? Or if they don't use your product?
I have seen you do a StoryBrand presentation for a client that used Star Wars.
Yeah.
It used Star Wars. I don't know how to say it any other way than that. Tell me what that was.
Yeah. So the framework is done. Story is an age-old way of telling story. There's an age-old framework in telling story, and that is it. You got that client that ends in success and all that. So I use Star Wars all the time, and sometimes I'll ask the question, have you seen the movie Star Wars? And then I'm like a deer in the headlights when they haven't. I'm like,
someone hasn't seen Star Wars.
Yeah, somebody has not seen. I've had some people tell me I refuse to watch Star Wars. And I'm like, okay, how's Sleeping Beauty? Let's go that route. But using Star Wars, you have the hero of the story, Luke Skywalker. He has an aspirational identity, right? It's to become a rebel pilot, but he has a problem. The problem is the evil empire. As a matter of fact, they kill his aunt and uncle, and he's orphaned again. He's on his own. And now he meets the guide in the story, and that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he creates an immediate authority. He fought with the Rebel Alliance. He knew his father. So he knew this guy could help him become a Rebel pilot or get to the Rebel Alliance. And he gives him a plan. He shows him the ways of the Force. He shows him how to become a warrior. And then at the end of the movie, there's that call to action. Spoiler alert, Obi-Wan is now dead. And he's in the trench of the Death Star. He's learned all these things from Obi-Wan. He's in the trench of the Death Star. He's got to shoot these torpedoes in this tiny little hole. Darth Vader's on his tail. X-Wings are blowing up around him. He's got the computer out, and he hears, use the Force. Let go. Is he going to trust this dead voice in his head, or is he going to continue on with what he's doing? So he chooses to do it. He shoots the torpedoes. And then goes, oh crap, they went in. He flies away, blows up the Death Star, wins the day, ends in success, avoids failure. And I like to say we saw failure because they used the same exact graphics and person and sound effects when they blew up an earlier planet in the movie. And so we saw that tension and everything. And so now we're at the end, and he does it and wins the day, gets a medal hung around his neck, and I, at the age of 7 years old, grab a yellow wiffle ball bat and battle my cousin in a lightsaber duel.
Right.
There it is. Same idea is done in marketing. We do that same storyline. Who's your customer? And see, in my case, if you needed a website, right? they're the hero of the story. They want a new website. They want it to be better messaged and everything. But they have a problem. They don't trust their current provider, or their website just doesn't have a clear message. They know it's not connecting, it's not converting. They're getting no business from it. That's a problem. So now I'm going to be their Joby-Wan Kenobi.
Joby-Wan.
A client named me that. I can. A client named me it. It's now forever. So now we're going to guide them, right? And we're going to show them how we're going to help them end in success. We're going to give them that plan, the 3-step plan. Let's talk, let's build a website, and let's drum up business. And then the call to action is let's start a project together. And then we're going to have the avoid failure and end in success. And you're going to be drumming up business with your website.
Joe,
there it is.
That is so good. And I can't think of a better way to end that off than to say, let's drum up business. I mean, that was good stuff, buddy.
Thanks.
That's good.
Appreciate it.
Folks, that is Joe LaPenna. Joe is the owner and the CEO at Drum Creative, a full-service marketing firm here in Greenville, specializing in website design. So reach out to Joby-Wan if you need some assistance. Folks, that does it. That wraps up another episode of Let's Talk Business. I appreciate you joining us again, whether you were on 94.5 listening to us or you checked out our podcast. Or maybe you saw the video on our YouTube video series. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.